Welcome to a special edition of TribLIVE Radio, TribLIVE.com. Ken Laird, Michael Grau, special selection show Sunday. Pitt is in. If there was some doubt, Mike, they found their way in as the 10 seed, and they get a matchup with Wisconsin Badgers. First time Pitt's in as a 10 seed since back in 1981, so it's not a seed they're typically familiar with, but they did play Wisconsin going back to 2004, early in the Howland-Dixon era, so a Badgers team they had a little rivalry with back in the Bo Ryan days. Now Bo Ryan leaves very suddenly, middle of the season. A young Wisconsin team that Greg Gard takes over, and they go to 20 wins total, 20-12. But I think Pitt's got to like the draw, all things considered, Mike. Wisconsin stumbling a little bit coming into the tournament.
Had to sweat it out a little bit. We saw some of the other bubble teams coming off pretty early, wondering if there were going to be enough spots available for Pitt to fit into to how everything was shaking out, but ending up right around where we expected them to. And like you said, got to be happy. You know, you look at Wisconsin, no sure things in the NCAA tournament. We know this Pitt team isn't exactly the kind of team that is reliable or consistent, so nothing's a sure thing. But if you want to get looking ahead, which everybody does the moment they look at an unblemished NCAA tournament bracket, you got to like, if you as a 10 seed like Pitt is, a manageable matchup against Wisconsin. You look at Xavier after that, you start getting ahead of yourself, a matchup with West Virginia possibly down the road.
I thought you were going to say Notre Dame possibly down the road.
Well, I mean, obviously Notre Dame's going to take out West Virginia in the second round. We all know that's going to happen. But yeah, a very favorable bracket with some familiar opponents in Notre Dame, in West Virginia, paving the way if they want to make a run. And you know, with the way college basketball has been this year, it's not out of the question that Pitt could make a run, but you know, the draw set up for them to do something, and any Pitt fans sweating got relief as they start naming this last bracket here.
Well, to tell you a little bit about Wisconsin, they had a tremendous run in February where they beat Maryland and Michigan State and Iowa on the road, who was 8th at the time. Maryland was 2 at the time. They were on this incredible run, and also beat VCU this year as a really good win. That was sort of at their peak of their powers. Now they've faded here. They've lost 2 in a row coming into the tournament, Mike, and their star forward, junior Nigel Hayes, who was 2 of 15 in their loss to Nebraska, said, I think after that loss, his quote was, "There is no such thing as momentum." So they are trying to downplay the 2-game skid coming into the tournament, but Nigel Hayes was 2 of 15 in that game. His teammates really struggled as well. Bronson Koenig, who's another, it's a point guard, he's a 3-point shooter. He was 3 of 12, so they were ice cold in that game. The previous game, they had lost to Purdue and gave up 91 points, so it was bad defense one game, bad offense the next. You wonder how that affects the Wisconsin psyche coming in. Not that Pitt's white hot coming in either.
The loss to Nebraska in the Big Ten tournament was certainly disappointing for Wisconsin. Losing on the road at Purdue, we saw the little run Purdue made through the Big Ten tournament before ultimately losing to Michigan State in the final. So Purdue's a pretty good team as well. It's a battle-tested Wisconsin Badgers team playing in the Big Ten, number 6 overall, strength of schedule. They clock in at 40 on the RPI. You and I were talking. Not a big fan of the RPI, but you look at the way that the RPI factors in bad losses. You mentioned that it's a team that warmed up. Bad losses early in the year to over 100 RPI teams. Georgetown in November, Marquette in December, Western Illinois, a 2-point loss at home to Western Illinois back in November. So they have played better once the calendar turned to 2016, and we see most of their quality wins against top 50 opponents coming in that Big Ten schedule once the new year turns. So it's a team that was trying to figure it out, and if Nigel's to be believed, momentum doesn't matter to the Wisconsin Badgers, and they got 4 days to get things right. Is that a Thursday or Friday, Ken?
Friday. They're playing Friday.
So 5 days to get that thing right before
in
a matchup
St. Louis at the
Pitt.
Scott Trade Center, and Pitt hoping to advance the 2 seed, Xavier, who they've split with in the last 5 years in the tournament. So pretty exciting, and Pitt is in.